by '94, there was another episode in which the UK and Ukraine's relations became intertwined. I'm thinking here of the conference in Budapest, the OSCE conference on December 5th, 1944, where the issue was mainly
94.
Yes, 94, of nuclear weapons, where naturally, as the UK being one of the world's accepted, tolerated, non-rogue nuclear powers, I'm thinking here of, at that point it was Russia, the US, China, France and the UK. So these were the countries that were tasked with solving the issue of what to do with the nuclear weapons that had been spread out in the Soviet Union after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. So there was the issue of Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine, and most of those nuclear weapons naturally were in Ukraine. Some strategic bombers as well, and the question was what to do with it. The Ukrainians at that time, under the President Kravchuk, were willing to negotiate. They were trying to get some form of security guarantees, which they also received from the countries that participated in this conference. But the deal, more or less, was that Ukraine gave those assets over to Russia in exchange for security guarantees. And these security guarantees have since been invoked by Ukraine on several occasions in connection with the invasion in 2022, but also partly in 2014 that discussion did surface. Now there is a discussion of new security guarantees being issued for Ukraine to end the war before they would get any NATO membership, if that would be a viable path forward. But this is something that the Ukrainians say that they remember the security guarantees of 1994, and they are not completely convinced that this is what should be the main tool for their security after the war. So they would probably prefer much more to initially just be given enough weapons to be able to defend their own borders in the months or potentially even years leading up to a potential future NATO membership. So these were the relations that, the main issue of the relations in the 90s and early 2000s. By 2014, with the Maidan revolution and later on the attack by Russia on Crimea and the subsequent annexation of Crimea, British and Ukrainian relations quickly strengthened, and Great Britain became one of the great advocates for the Ukrainian cause in the wider West. However, it was first really with that crisis in late 2021 with the military buildup on Ukraine's borders by the Russian Federation that Great Britain really started to play a great role on the center stage. Prime Minister Boris Johnson was truly, as the Ukrainians say themselves, that he was a Ukrainophile who appreciated Ukrainian culture and was very adamant about helping Ukraine preserve its independence. So there, as I mentioned early on, that there was British help with...
Yes, and British army had been training Ukrainian troops even before the invasion.
Yes, after 2014, they started an operation, Optimus, if I'm not mistaken, through which the Ukrainian army was receiving NATO standard training. And after the invasion in July 2022, they upgraded it to Operation Interflex, which was on a much larger scale. And now I think there is somewhere up to 25,000 Ukrainian soldiers that have received training in Great Britain after the full-scale invasion. So often we only think about the weapons that are being donated, but training is certainly also a large part of it. If we look at the diplomacy of Boris Johnson in the lead-up to the start of the full-scale invasion, on February 17th, Poland, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom signed this trilateral security pact, which tightened their cooperation significantly, exchange of intelligence, but also cooperation within the sphere of military production of various weapon systems and types, and really at the starting point of when you develop new weapon system, it's always good if you receive some information from other countries, what they have been doing in that field, but also various types of direct military aid, so weapon systems being sent, or intelligence being shared by these various aerial reconnaissance flights that are being performed either over the Black Sea or along Poland and Ukraine's eastern border. So it was a quite far-reaching agreement that was made. There were some speculations in Russian press that this is a UK initiative to try to divide the European Union somehow, that the UK is trying to form closer relations with Poland, Ukraine, some countries in the Baltic, or some of the Baltic states, and potentially even Turkey in the future.
Adam, as usual, the clock in the corner of the studio has defeated us, so I'm going to have to ask you to pause there. We'll pick it up next time. There we are. Time and tide wait for no man, certainly not in television studios. Anyway, fear not. If you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll continue the story here on Poland Daily History. Thank you for watching.